What did you make of Bagent's mistakes? Do they preclude him from a life in the NFL? You know, that's what we're trying to figure out. Were they arm strength issues, or were they him throwing late, bad reads? What did you make of the mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, I thought Tyson Bagent played his best game as a pro outside of really 2 to 3 throws, and those were the 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter were obviously killer. The first one, I thought that Darnell Mooney was drifting on his route, if I'm being completely honest. I thought that Darnell Mooney should have slightly come back to the quarterback a little more. The ball was behind him, no doubt, and it was an amazing play by that nickel corner. Like it was a really good play. The second play on the dagger, just a misthrow. Like that's just, I don't think it precludes him from being as a starter in the National Football League. If anything, obviously he's looking at this with a fine-tooth comb and he's saying, hey, how can I get better? How can I do it? But there's honestly there's more good overall. There were 69 plays, and you want back 5 of those 69 plays, and 64 of the 69 plays that they ran. Like, the dude was pretty good. And what separated him this game, I thought, were his legs. He was able to use his legs to get out of trouble. They did a multitude of zone reads. They did a bunch of bootlegs going to your left. He's a really good thrower on his left. But at the end of the day, as a quarterback, you're judged on wins and losses and how many times you can bring your team back. And honestly, I thought for the most part, like the offensive line played like that's a really good Saints defense. And they're top 10 unit in the league. And for them to be that close, for them to have that close of a game, even going into the fourth quarter, I thought was a win, maybe a moral victory of sorts for the Bears on offense.
All right, now that's interesting, though, because I hear what you're saying, but there were 5 turnovers. 4 of them are charged to the quarterback. One's on DJ Moore. And, when Trent would be on the show, Trent Dilfer last year, he would do the pluses on the grades, right? Yeah. There was the double plus, the single plus, the neutral, the minus, and the double minus. And, the turnovers, when they're on the quarterback, they're the double minus. So I guess when you say there's more good than bad, but there's 4 turnovers, how much great was there if there were some plays that were clear double negatives, you lose the game because the quarterback turned the ball over?
Yeah, I mean, look, you definitely lose the game because of the turnovers, and he's got to make those throws, bottom line, because both of them were honestly open. But I look at it from a view of listen, I know what have you done for me lately league, and I know everyone's like, oh my gosh, all these turnovers, and yeah, I mean, that's going to happen with an undrafted rookie quarterback playing in his 3rd or 4th game. And everyone's like, oh, he's a Bagent apologist. Like, whatever, dude. I'm just telling you how coaches view the film. They view it as yeah, dude, you got to make these throws. However, the other 64 plays, there were more pluses and pluses than there were in all the other weeks combined. So he's playing a lot better. He's playing a lot more comfortable. And honestly, they're putting a lot more on him pre-snap. And obviously, everyone's going to look at the turnovers, and rightfully so. You can't have 5 turnovers on the road. But here's a counterpoint to that. You have 5 turnovers on the road, and you still on they're pretty decent Saints team. They're leading the South, which sucks, whatever. But you are in the game with probably a team that's going to make the playoffs with 5 turnovers on the road in the Superdome. So look at it from that perspective, and I'm sure that's what the coaches are looking at. Yeah, you got to clean up the mistakes, but overall, they stuck with them the entire game.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the conversation that we had yesterday, Danny, and you were like, all right, can we just end? I don't want to put the words in your mouth about the Tyson Bagent experience. Can we end the calls for Bagent to play? Right?
Yeah, Chase, my thing is if they found a backup quarterback as an undrafted dude who they signed to a 3-year deal that they're paying basically $900K to, that's good value. It's not great value because you can sign Gardner Minshew or Jacoby Brissett or a dude like that in any given offseason for $5 million, and you can get a good backup quarterback who can execute your game plan. So you saved yourself $4 million and you got him under contract. I think that the ceiling is limited as such that I would be sure, some people are saying, I want to see more of Bagent and I've seen enough of Fields. To me, that's crazy because it's
That is crazy.
I've got to make a $20+ million fifth-year option decision on a dude with a much higher athletic ceiling on Justin Fields this offseason. So I need to see more of Fields, and Tyson Bagent kind of is what he is, and I'm sorry if that feels mean.
Yeah, look, it's not mean. It's the truth. And Tyson Bagent, at the end of the day, you were undrafted. You came in. Honestly, it was a home run hit for them as evaluators and Ryan Poles to understand, hey, this guy can be our backup. This dude will be a backup in the league for a long time. Like, he's shown enough on film. There's such a quarterback problem in the National Football League. It's not even funny. This dude showed he can play and he can run it off. Like, he made his way. However, I'm with you. At the end of the day, you got a huge franchise turning decision coming up. And yeah, it's unfortunate that Justin got hurt, but you got to see the guy play. And quite honestly, I don't know if there's enough tape out there so far that's good or bad of Justin to give Poles and the executives a decision that they've firmly made. Hey, he is our quarterback of the future. Hey, he's not our quarterback of the future. Truly, in my opinion, as an evaluator, as playing the position, it's right in the middle. There's some games that could sway it either way, and especially the way Justin was playing before the injury. And I know it's a short week. I don't know what the latest is, if he's playing or if he's not. I know today was a huge practice day for him, but I personally would love to see Justin play. It might take him a few games to get used to gripping the football with the thumb. So I don't know if you can actually dive right in and be like, oh, if you played a horrible game back, oh, it's because, you suck. No, I think it takes a little bit of time, but they're running out of time. And that's something they don't have a lot of.
All right. So if you've got, because what you have is Fields after 31 starts and Bagent after 3 starts. But the value of the decision is, like you're saying, it's a franchise level decision. $20 million on next year's cap, the allocation of what might be 2 of the top 5 picks in the NFL draft. So with that in mind, if you've got playing time left for both of them, you're choosing to give that playing time to Fields. Is that what you're saying?
It's not even close. And every GM and executive around the league would agree with me.
Thank you.
It's not even close. Yeah, Bagent, you're great. This season's a wash for the Bears. Sorry, guys. You guys probably aren't making the playoffs. I got to see Fields play. I got to see what he has. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, I think they're going to pick up the 5th-year option. I don't think that's the case. And honestly, they could still pick up 5th-year option and still draft a guy high and trade or because they got enough cap space for that. That's the interesting decision, right? But at the end of the day, I want to, because I really, really liked Justin Fields the last 3 games he was playing. And I really would have loved to see him finish that Minnesota game and see sort of how he could handle all the pressure that was being brought his way. But yeah, I mean, look, in my opinion, these executives for Chicago, they're saying, hey, look, where are we looking at for the future? And the future starts with the quarterback room. We got to see Justin play. Hopefully he can get back. Hopefully he plays well to at least, have us pick up that 5th-year option.
All right. So we're talking to Chase Daniel Show on YouTube. Help us out with this, because we have felt like we have seen for years in this town some pretty stubborn offensive coaching and you've been here for some of it, frankly, square peg into round hole, making Justin Fields run Andy Dalton's offense. And those guys are pretty different. And Luke Getsy just today came out and said, it's not like there's going to be an entirely different game plan with Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields. And I'm they seem like pretty different dudes to me. What is a fair way of interpreting whether or not a coach is bending his game plan to his talent or trying to force his talent into his system?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I thought Luke has done, Getsy has done a pretty decent job, not a great job. And because you really can't, middle of the season, it's just forget about everything else and the actual guy running the system at quarterback. You can't just full on switch offenses in the middle of the year. You might add a few things like this past game in New Orleans. I felt like I saw even more bootlegs and nakeds than I did with Fields under center. And that's probably saying,
does that make any sense to you?
Out. It does, because he's actually, every single one of them worked. So they saw something on film going to the left. So whatever it is, I think he throws better, Bagent on the run. And so they wanted to get him moving, get his legs rolling. I thought his legs were the difference in that game and why they were able to get some drives. That 3rd and 12 scramble in the red zone was insane. Like to get the first down, one of the first few drives.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a fine line that you walk. I don't think as an offensive coordinator, you'd be doing yourself or your team any justice if you were to just say, hey, okay, we have a new starter. We have to completely change the game plan around. And honestly, the staff must have felt really good naming Bagent the backup, thinking that, hey, I got Justin Fields here. He can do not what Justin can running the ball, but he can do sort of similar things, which I tend to agree with watching it. I feel like I'm watching sort of a Justin Fields-led offense, and Bagent's playing well in it.
I guess, I mean, why would you do more bootlegs and rollouts for Tyson Bagent than Justin Fields? I'm not saying that Bagent can't also do them, but it seems like when Justin gets on the perimeter and on the edge, it's felt at times like they were trying to make Justin into more of a pocket guy.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 games of the year, absolutely.
Yeah.
The last 4, I would say no. I would say the inordinate amount of bootlegs this game, I think, lended its hand to the game plan, right? So every game moving forward is game plan specific.
Yep.
Very rarely do you have carryover games. So they felt, I mean, at least me watching the film, they felt like getting him on the edge was the way to go. So you can't really argue that, especially because they had a pretty good plan for it. And Tyson's mistakes were in the pocket when he was getting pressured, and those were the interceptions. It's not like he's out on the edge thrown across his body, but it's a fine line for sure on what you're saying. I get what you're saying, and it's different for every team, I feel like.
Well, and it's also a thing where a defense might be looking more for bootlegs and rollouts with Fields because of his ability to be a runner, whereas with Bagent and others, sometimes you're catching them by surprise because you're not expecting this guy to be able to beat you with his legs, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I didn't hear the very first part of your question, but I'm thinking about how my earphones, they decided to stop working. But I feel like what you're asking is how Bagent is with his legs.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, maybe it's more of a surprise to see a guy like Bagent getting bootlegs and rollouts, whereas Fields is such a weapon as a runner. You kind of are expecting.
Yeah,
it
you
on
could
some
definitely
level.
get them by like surprise, and I think that's probably what happened here. And honestly, like actually watching the film, I don't know what he ran the 40 in. But he's quicker and faster than Bagent probably thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting watching that game and was able to run around a little bit.
So there is a theory out there that the coaches might be kind of have made up their mind on Fields, like they don't want to go back to him next year, and we'll see how that plays out. There's obviously some of us who have watched and we're like, God, I just don't know if Fields sees the field enough, if he does things quickly enough. But we've got these games. If you are an analyst or you are Ryan Poles, what do you want to see from Justin Fields in the next 8 games to make you go, yep, that's my guy. I don't have to draft a quarterback, and here we go. What do you want to see from him?
That's a great question. You got to, for me, it's the operation of the entire thing. You have to be able to move the operation. You have to operate quickly. You have to get from read to read. You have to be able to understand, hey, the ball needs to get out, quick decisions. I think right now, like Tyson Bagent, in my mind, processes things on like film hey, I need to throw this away. Hey, I got stuff wrong with me. Where Justin might process it maybe a little bit slower, but honestly, with his athleticism, is able to get out of things that maybe Tyson Bagent can't, if that makes sense.
Of course.
And so that's what I want to be able to see from him is like, I want to be able to see, can you put the game and the team on your back? And like, if I was game planning for it, I'd be like, Justin, it's all you. We got to see what you got. We want to see what you got. We believe in you. Go do your thing. And honestly, the first 3 or 4 games, he was overthinking stuff. And I felt like the last 2 to 3 games, other than really the Minnesota game, he was playing a lot better. And that's just unfortunate because as a quarterback, as you continue to play, as you continue to process information, it just gets better and better and better the more you play. He hadn't played in a couple of weeks now. That process might start over. So you might see if he plays on Thursday or next Sunday or whatever it is, the processing speed might not be there.
So this is what the rest of our season is about, is like watching Fields for these 8 games and seeing whether he can process it quicker, because he needs to, right? So how do we watch smart in that way? How can we watch these games and see whether Fields is doing that kind of stuff or not?
Well, I think the easiest thing to see is he taking sacks? Is he taking sacks at like a rate he was the first few games of the season, where he's just holding on to the ball? He doesn't have an answer after his first read. In the last few games I was breaking him down, when he was doing pretty well, he was getting through 1, 2, 3 progressions. The first couple, it was just like one run around. So can he continue to show that he's able to get through progressions? I think the sack number might be the one that you would watch the most, especially with an offensive line that's been decent at times during the season. And I think just overall offensive output. I think you can't just look at a box score, because it's such a different game week in and week out, and say, hey, Justin threw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's the story of the game. Well, not always. Like, you actually have to dig into the film, which is why you guys bring me on, and I'll be more than happy to tell you guys, but like what the story is outside of the numbers.
Did the Panthers make a mistake taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud?
Sure looks that way.
Yes, it does.
Oh my gosh. Like I just released this morning a CJ Stroud, like full on film breakdown. And I try to keep these breakdowns, and you guys know, to like 12, 13 plays. I had 17 to 18 plays where I'm like, I had to like show what this young man's about. And it's honestly like, it's unbelievable to me, the fact that he was able to do what he was able to do in the fourth quarter with 46 seconds left. Like, the amount of like the difficulty that he was tasked with on that last drive, when everyone knows you need a score and you don't need 3, and for him to drive them down to make this corner route throw over a cover 2 corner, to throw a double post and touchdown. He just, what the funny stat is, and you guys probably know this, but I saw it and I talked about it in the video. He already has more career touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett. Like,
yeah, ridiculous.
What? Like 14 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Well, and he's throwing to Tank Dell and Nico Collins, man. Like, it's not like when Herbert came in and set the record, and I know Justin well. Like,
yeah.
He had Keenan Allen and
the guys,
Mike Williams,
Austin Eckler.
Yeah, he had all of them as a rookie. This is so different.
I will say though, like watching them week after week, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Dalton Schultz, I believe.
Yep.
That 3-headed monster down there is getting up there in tops in the league, because what they like week in and week out. And I don't know if it's just CJ that's the one that's making him, because I think that Tank Dell is going to be a special player in this league too.
Yeah, I like Tank Dell a lot. I agree.
We just would have not said that before the year.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you got to see it on film. Yeah. You would say, okay, like, yeah, but then you see him do it and you see who he's like. It could be really, really good down there for a while in Houston. They got some young playmakers. Saw
that you posted a picture of Drew Brees, who apparently is going to be helping you dissect Derek Carr and others. Your good friend, Drew Brees. I don't know if he's aware of this. He keeps coming up in conversation because Tyson Bagent's college coach comped him to Drew Brees on our show a couple weeks ago, said Tyson Bagent might be able to be like Drew Brees. So,
Oh, my God. So literally, Brees was over here for 2 hours because we were breaking. So, yeah, we're breaking down. We did the Derek Carr breakdown. It'll be on my YouTube page on Thursday, but we also did a 2-minute drive breakdown of CJ Stroud. And so he's over here for 2 hours. He literally just left. I really wish he was here so I could have got his reaction to that comp.
That's why I was bringing it up, man.
It was ridiculous. You thought you were disrespected when Tyson Bagent was comped to Chase Daniel.
Come on now.
It's aspirational, man.
Come on.
Yeah.
These are comps.
Reaching for the stars there, guys.